Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the KnifeCenter, and welcome to Knife AQ, episode 182 of the series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. Sitting off to the side today because we've got a special guest, and we're here to talk about machetes. Let's get into it. All right, everyone, if you're new to this series, the deal is we take your questions from the comment section below and we try to answer them in a informative and entertaining way. First question today comes from Andrew N.Y. Gren, and Andrew Nygren, perhaps. Mr. Anderson, do you keep in touch with Joe Flowers regularly or just at blade shows? I always thought you two have great on-screen chemistry and we make a good guest for you to have on or interview in some capacity. Just a thought. What do you think, Joe?
I think I should come in and speak a little bit because I see you have some awesome stuff on the table.
Yes.
I like a lot. And we'll find out if this chair is slowly going to get slower and slower and lower and lower during the
Our high quality equipment here.
Yes.
The answer is yes, Joe and I are friends. We don't get to hang out too often, but we've camped together. We've hung out together outside of shows when we can. So
he was like, come on up. And I was like, okay.
Let's do stuff.
Yeah, we went and did stuff. So far, there's more stuff to happen.
Yes, indeed. Well, now into the real first question, which comes from Doug Do7GE.
7GE.
Hey, DCA, I'm in Florida and would like to know what machete you would recommend. I'd like to have one that can do most knife duties, as this will be the only blade on my belt. A machete that can strike a ferro rod, be batoned, plenty of room on the handle, and can hold an edge well. I have no problem paying top dollar if necessary. Thanks for the entertaining and informative videos. That's why we got Joe here, because not only is he a machete expert, like I said before, you've also done a lot of tromping around in Florida.
Yeah, definitely.
Using
with machetes.
the stuff. So I had kind of put together a short list of things I thought might be good, and I didn't share that with Joe, and I asked him the question and said, what would your first thing be? And one of his first thing was one of the knives that was on the list. So I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
But machete use in Florida. For you, it's been mostly like the Everglades?
Yeah. So going down there looking for different species of reptiles, amphibians, sometimes going around in places around Miami and all that area, going through thick swamps. You don't want to be cutting mangroves or anything, but lots of thick swamps where having a long machete is really, really tough to negotiate some of the areas.
I was going to ask that. So, like, what's an ideal length then?
Well, like
for your consideration.
Yeah, like for going through the hammocks of the Everglades and these jungle-esque areas. Sometimes I like a shorter machete, such as a terrachete or something around that 12 to 14 inch length, so I can still kind of manipulate through the
a little more maneuverable.
Yeah, and I can use it a little bit easier than I can use such as an 18 inch machete for like small knife tasks. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit easier to baton with and work with in terms of length and knife tasks as well.
Yeah.
It's more of a userman's journeyman machete that just is always on your side. And it's easy to put it on my side because it's a lot smaller than a normal full-size machete. For me, generally, I'd think like 18 inches to 22 inches is your general length of like a full-size machete.
More like maybe like a homestead machete or something,
right,
as opposed to a expedition machete.
Right,
Does
yeah,
that make sense?
I would say definitely like a agricultural machete, although they'll use big machetes down in the jungle where they can get them, but they always have those machetes there.
Well, cool. Let's take a look at a few here.
You got some really cool stuff on the table here.
Yeah, including some stuff that you've actually put through the ringer, some personal examples, which is cool. So you mentioned something that holds an edge well. Mm-hmm. Most machetes are going to come with steels that are more known for their toughness.
Correct.
Which I can understand the desire to want something with an edge that's going to last, but the thing is when you're striking around with a machete, chances are you might bend an edge or ding an edge real easily, and if you do that on a real magnet cut, for example, it's going to take a lot longer to repair that edge.
Yeah. You want it to have a lower rockwell so you can bang out stuff. This is a perfect example. This user machete. This is the Condor Mid-Macara, and this one was one of the ones that I used by rocks to figure out where we wanted to get our edge grind at. And you see I was able to kind of repair the edge so that it'll still cut.
Show the camera there.
But it's been knocked out a little bit because this thing's been bashed like crazy with machete people who know how to use a machete and people who don't necessarily. So that's where that comes in, and that edge. If that was like a really high rockwell, that'd be destroyed right now.
Yeah. Well, I've got the first three we're going to talk about
Sure.
are all Joe Flowers designs, actually.
Hey, cool.
And that was not intentional. It's just because like Condor makes so many great machetes, and Joe Flowers designed so many things for Condor.
Yeah.
But they're things I think fit really well. So you want a roomy handle, you want batonability, you want the ferro rod striking. And did I say plenty of room on the handle? You mentioned plenty of room on the handle. Got the first three we're going to look at are a little bit thinner, might not be quite as effective as at batoning. The second set of three we're going to look at is a little bit thicker, will baton a little better, but they're going to wear you out a little more doing more machete type stuff.
Yeah.
But either one is, like neither one's wrong. Like you could go either
Correct.
direction. You just got to figure out what is important to you. The Polar North was the first thing that came to mind for me, honestly.
I love this particular blade, especially because I've used it down in the jungle, but it's been on 3 different continents. It's been on TV. A lot of indigenous really liked using this to make boat paddles when we were in camp. And I learned a lot about it. So I'm really happy with this design because it's a point down the center line, continuous curvature, kind of like a bushcraft knife that a lot of people look for. But it's a lot lighter and has a choil there. But because it's so light, that's kind of where it detracts for batoning. I made it a little bit wider and designed it to be a little bit wider to take some of the brunt of light batoning. But in all fairness, it is only like 2 millimeters thick. It's meant to be a speed machete.
Right.
So you can baton with this, although getting through a really, really hard knot might twist the machete a little bit, but it should spring back to normal.
Is that a task that you've found you needed to do in Florida often, is heavier batoning? Or
No,
is
not
the vegetation there not necessarily required as
No,
much?
because we don't have lots of really big trees where I'm having to split like whole logs or something. It's just chopping up like wrist-sized stuff for getting a fire. Because I'm not building like a log cabin fire the size of you can see from space. It's just to heat up coffee and stuff when we're in camp. Depending on areas, we were allowed to have fires during the seasons and whatnot too.
True. So yeah, this was the first place my mind went as well, because plenty of room on that handle, even without using the choil area up here to choke up on. So you've got the ability to choke back, get more leverage, and choke way up here to get, since this is the one knife on your belt you're talking about, finer detail stuff. The centerline point, very easy to use for that sort of stuff as well.
Really good crafting machine.
And this one's not necessarily crisp enough to strike a fire steel. I don't know if fresh ones off the shelf are or not, but this would be real easy to crisp up with a sharpening steel.
Yeah, all of these, the sharpening steels and all that, you can just hit just a little bit on the side. And keep in mind, if you're in a survival situation, I hate doing it, but you can use the blade, the edge.
Well, I'll offer a bit of practical advice too. Like if this is something you're planning on just using in general, it's good to know you can strike with a spine of a knife in an emergency situation, but carry a striker.
Yeah, just put it on the belt or something small.
Yeah, something small. Essie makes a nice, cool little fire thing. We were using that here for another project we're filming. But, at the very least, an old hacksaw blade, snap off a length of that, that's a fantastic striker.
Right.
And that's not going to weigh you down.
Yeah, definitely. I love broken hacksaw blades for strikers, too.
You can use them for so many
Sometimes
good
get
things.
sparks off of those with quartz as well in flint.
Nice. That's a good option. The mid-Macara, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Talk about a
lots
roomy
of
handle there.
Big time, yeah.
And the Polar North, that's about a 12-inch blade. It's about $121. The mid-Macara, let me just open my page here, is about the same price, 14-inch blade on this one.
Yeah. Now this was just like the Adam Driver machete that you covered a long time ago. This was a smaller version of that for faster and quicker bushcraft. Still thin, still with the distal taper. Batons, okay, pretty well. Definitely not as good as maybe like the Yakari or the Hungless.
It's lighter duty.
It's lighter duty for fast movement. For
careful with that trailing point here. That got a little close.
Almost cutting, Mr. Anderson here. So that's a really, really cool hybrid martial arts style super machete.
Yeah, maybe a little less useful at the tip for doing stuff, but it's also kind of getting out to that length where it might be cumbersome anyway. But this is very comfortable for that close-in stuff right here, too. Balances pretty well, I'd say. Now, I know you mentioned paying top dollar, but, I got to talk about the Terrachete as well.
Yeah.
Because this is probably my most easily recommended machete on the market right now. And I'm not just saying that because Joe is here. I've said that, a variation of that before.
Now, this was a really cool project to work with Condor.
And it's like $60.
Yeah, it's $60. It's a really, really cool setup, 1075 high carbon steel with the ability to do that forward-facing lanyard if you want to.
That's a huge thing for me because I'm a big proponent of that as a safety measure, especially on longer blades.
Yeah. There's a small space here for grabbing really close. Now, again, this isn't going to strike a fire steel well without a little bit of change.
A little bit of mod, yeah.
Yeah, but on the back end here, you can use it pretty well to do that. It's not going to work great without just doing a little bit of filing, just like you're honing your knife. If you can sharpen a knife, you can put a fire steel on the back of the knife in my book.
And you got the Scandi grind here at the edge. So again, if you're doing that, if this is the one bladed tool on your belt, you can do some of that finer stuff. You got a very usable tip, even with a 14.5-inch blade in this case.
Mm-hmm. And this one has a lot of steel behind it. It would probably baton a little bit better than those. I have before. Not this one. This one's actually nice. I got some really nasty ones at home that I've used too.
And not as roomy as the other two knives, but folks know I have slightly larger than average hands, and there's plenty of room on that handle, I think.
Yeah, I tried to design this for North American hands or hands with people who have to wear mittens and stuff all day too.
Yeah. The other thing that's a nice thing about this that the other two we've looked at don't have is the sheath here. Florida, humid, wet, synthetic sheath on the Terrachetti. And that, leather belt loop, yes, but the part that's actually contacting your blade is not going to warp out and rot on you. Yeah. Which is a nice thing.
I've even put some of that wax. What's that stuff called that you put on there that's made out of beeswax stuff?
Is it beeswax?
Yeah, with some kind of wax, a sharpener
that
that's
wax
in
that's
here.
Made out of beeswax?
Yes, and it helps protect it a little bit if it's wet, and I store it in there too.
So those are some machete-like options.
Yeah.
You mentioned batoning wasn't always necessarily needed for your needs.
Right.
I don't know exactly
what you want
what
it to be there, especially if it's raining in Florida too.
Yeah.
It does rain there, and
so
you have to get stuff going.
If you want a little bit more, we got some things here for you too. The first is the Kisljar Supreme Bushmate Convex Ground Machete. This thing's pretty cool. It's about $180. It's the only stainless steel option on the table.
Now, what is that? AUS 8?
It's AUS 8, so it's not a super steel, or AUS 8, whatever you want to call it. So it's not a super steel, but you've got more thickness.
It's a proven steel. It's been around forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if they know what they're doing with the heat treat, I'm sure it's great. This is Australian style machete.
Yeah.
That was really popular way back in the Martindale days in England when they used to make them. So you'd see this parang style with this point down the center line. Interestingly enough, just like the original Australian military machete, this does not have a distal taper, meaning thick here and thick at the end. It really takes it in the convexness, which means this would really excel at batoning pretty well.
Great chopper too, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. A lot more weight forward chopper. Once again, a little bit better. You probably could get I could get a fire steel with that. But I could get one with that too, I think.
Oh yeah, that's crisp enough for sure.
Yeah.
Roomy enough handle there, but plenty of area to choke up to if you want a little more going on. Leather sheath on this one, so you get the advantage of stainlessness, even though I'll say it's not the most stainless thing out there, but you do have leather, so that's a bit of a trade-off there. Here's the sheaths on the first two machetes we looked at, nice and used as well, since we're talking about those. But if we're talking about thicker...
Wicked Wax, that was the name of the stuff, Wicked Wax.
Thicker machete-esque stuff. I mean, you got to talk about the Hungless, right?
Yeah, man. You can't not talk about Essie, because this is one of the fantastic, made in the U.S. by Rowan Cutlery, 1095 Harker Abrams steel with what, a 12-inch blade?
Or 10.38.
10.3.
Really? Hang on a second.
And a micarta handle as well. With the YFS fasteners too.
Yeah, I guess so. I always thought of it as like more of like a 12-inch, but it's really just over a 10-inch blade. Yeah.
Very roomy handle.
Very roomy handle. You can still choke up on it.
Definitely.
Again, these things are going to wear you out a little more if you're doing a lot of like hacking through vegetation because you're dealing with more weight, more thickness. So again, good option to if you want the heavier chopping, but just keep that in mind. And
fun fact.
Sorry.
Essie was the first time I went to the jungle, was with them.
Oh, yeah?
Down in 2009 or something like that.
You will have to mod that to get it to striker fire steel.
Yeah.
Good to do in an emergency, but carry, like, you're talking about this as a normal piece of your loadout. Please, like, just carry a striker.
Yeah.
Not to belabor that point. I'm not giving you a hard time, but, and then
that one knife option.
The Yakare. Not quite as roomy of a handle and more expensive as well. Well, the Hungless is about $190 these days. This is $224. The Tops Yakare. You've got some good, nice connection to this though.
Yeah. Actually, Craig from Tops designed this, And after coming on one of the Bushcraft Global trips, Jacare means caiman in Portuguese, and we are right on the area where they speak Portuguese in Brazil and Spanish in Colombia, and a lot of the different tribes will speak some Portuguese, so they're like Jacare for caiman, and that's where the name came off of this machete-esque big knife. Really cool chopper. I have one personally at my house that I really love. Actually, it might even be in the car up there too.
Joe showed up with a car full of knives.
Yeah.
We haven't even been able to pull all of them out.
So Top Jacare, made in the U.S., really cool knife.
again. Not quite as roomy of a handle, but it's another really cool option. And it gives us an opportunity to talk about Bushcraft Global real quick. One of the things that Joe does, leading expeditions down there, like bringing people who might not be familiar with the jungle at all, basically.
Correct, and giving them like a crash course in jungle expedition style living, where we stay in an area and we make a lot of stuff with knives. And it's a really knife-centered trip. Knife lovers really like being on it. Normal people too, but knife lovers really love making blowguns, spears, pottery, slingshots, and all of that down there. And you're using machetes and knives all the time.
Are you saying knife people aren't normal?
Definitely.
That's absolutely what I'm saying.
Yes.
He says.
It's like beekeepers too. I'm not any normal beekeepers either. I'm a beekeeper as well.
Well, I hope that helps guide you. I think there's some good options here.
A great spread of different options out there as well.
So we had some more, but there's only so many we can put on there. Oh yeah, gotta talk about the sheaths real quick too. The top sheath, nylon, very resistant to moisture, and Kydex for the Essie. Great for humid and moist environments as well, I would say. There you go. And you get the whistle with the tops too.
Yes.
You always get the whistle, which is nice. Almost always. All right, you got to.
It's right next to the microphone too.
Thanks.
Now you have to buy that.
Oh no, that one's been. I've got some unblown whistles in my car.
We'll just swap it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we're going to come to our next segment, which is called Damyr's Buried Treasure, where we're going through the alphabet and pulling out a brand from each letter of the alphabet and showing something that we've never shown on the channel before.
Whoa! What a concept!
Thank you, Damyr, for asking that initial question and inspiring the segment. So the first,
I want one.
You've already been looking at this.
Yeah.
So the brand is Baladeo. Baladeo or Baladeo? Baladeo sounds pretty good.
I think it's Baladeo.
Baladeo sounds better than Baladeo, which I've always thought was.
It's Italian, correct? I believe.
I mean, it's made in China, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I couldn't tell you. This is the Papagayo. Is that a word you know how to pronounce?
Papagayo, yeah.
Does it mean, do you know what it means?
No.
Oh, okay. This is the Papagayo Skinny. It's about $20. You got a just over 3-inch blade, stainless. That's the inox right there. I couldn't even tell. It's a 420 stainless. So nothing that's gonna set the world on fire. But this feels like very clean for a $20 knife. Just the construction of it.
And the weight is what's really cool with the Baladeos. However we say it correctly, because they're super
now
ultra lightweight.
My way, but I like your way better.
Yeah, well, either we'll figure it out someday. But so lightweight that it's great for like a running knife, or if you want to put it on the inside of a sheath of your big knife, it won't take any straight. And this is another alternative to a striker too. You've got this in there to do a fire steel.
Close knife,
for instance.
Opinels are great for that as well.
Yeah,
Opinels have really crisp spines. You can keep the blade closed and use it as a striker that way, which is safer than
set the handle on fire too, and you got a fire starter.
There you go. Shave off a little bit of the sides if you can't find any dry wood.
We're going to be making KnifeCenter Opinel fatwood handles from now on.
There you go. No, it's pretty cool. You got this frame lock essentially, or unsupported liner lock, however you want to look at it. But it's that type of mechanism, just a single scale of zebra wood, or zebrano wood. I'm guessing that's just zebra wood. And a hollow ground blade here.
Yeah, and check out some of the other options by them too, because they make even lighter weight ones than that. Like really lightweight.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Never been seen on this channel before.
Very neat.
Come in next week for the letter C, but today's episode is brought to you by the letter B.
Boy.
Now we're going to come to the lightning round for today, accompanied by the thunder we just heard from the dogs running upstairs. First question is more of a statement in the lightning round, which comes from William Wallace, which says, Joe Flowers is a national treasure and must be protected at all costs.
Oh, that's very nice. I appreciate that.
I just put that in there to try to embarrass you.
It's not hard. It's all right. They have the dogs playing upstairs to distract me. So
well. All right, next question comes from KG Counts. This was in response to the video where Seth picked out a survival knife a few weeks ago. And he said, I thought something designed by Joe Flowers would make the cut. Perhaps you should reach out to see when his next survival class is available.
Funny that you mentioned that.
So yesterday, with Seth and his BK9 that he picked out, we had Joe teaching him some survival knife skills. And we're going to have that video hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. And we have some YouTube shorts coming up too.
Yeah.
It was cool. We found a snake and a turtle and some frogs and didn't cut ourselves. So
no, but you got bit.
Yeah, we got bit and stung.
got stung.
Yeah, but it's just like a Monday, man.
So yes, we'll have to go confront Seth and ask him why there was nothing from Joe Flowers on that survival
I'm fine
knife
with
video.
what he chose though. BK9 is sublime. I had one too, so you doesn't have to be just any knife. All knives matter.
That's right. So yeah, look for some survival training from Joe very shortly. We didn't even have to look up when his next class was available. We said, come up here and do it.
Right, yes.
All right, next question comes from Joseph Martin. I believe Latin machetes, at least, have the blunt tip intentionally for sticking in the ground between tasks. Maybe a Joe Flowers question?
That's very important observation. A lot of times it's because they don't bother sharpening it. Some places do have a blunt tip like this because they say that. Not all machete companies say that. It might just be a way that people say to save time on the grinder. A lot of people like to have just this portion of the machete sharpened so that they're just doing a lot of free-handed tasks, such as in South America too.
And then keeping the tip just
and the tip just
more of a
stays.
beater.
Yeah, because they'll be using the tip a lot for different stuff. So I personally haven't seen that, but machetes are so vast, and everybody has, like Puerto Rico has a very certain style of machete. Some countries like really red machetes so that they can find it a lot easier. So you'll see a whole lot of different styles for just one tool, especially like sugarcane. I don't know why. There's like 12 different designs just to cut one plant.
And they're all very different, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure.
The Tramontina here, though, is a good example. It has that blunt tip.
Correct.
It's a 14-inch machete for $14, though.
Yeah,
that's
it's fantastic.
It's a very inexpensive machete, but they work. My first machete I ever bought was this, not this exact one, but one of these, and I've done a lot with it. I broke the handle on it and had to make a new handle for it, but that was on me because I was being stupid with it.
Yeah, so
I sharpened my tip too.
This is the world's biggest machete company. Second biggest is the parent company in Condor, Imacasa, and they make like 40,000 machetes a month. So I don't know how many these guys make, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
All made in Brazil.
But they're super solid. They don't come with a sheath, but they are super solid tools and crazy affordable. All right, next question. I included this one as sort of a personal vendetta.
Yes.
Vendetta might be too strong a word.
All right, this is scary.
But I like what this person is saying, and this is my way of using this person's comment to issue you a design challenge.
Okay.
All right, comes from Jay Jabberjaw. I would love for Joe Flowers to come out with an EDC Ulu or mini Ulu.
Wow.
Sounds like it would be a fun knife to try out and learn with.
Wow, a mini Ulu.
Like an EDC Ulu. So
that'd be cool.
This comment I've been saving for a long time. Condor does make an Ulu here, but it's very traditional.
Yeah, this is just your normal basic Ulu design that they wanted to. They were able to do it in their style. I didn't design this one. This is an in-house style.
This Knives of Alaska Ulu, however, is almost something that I feel like would be EDCable. And I made a comment on one video that like maybe I was going to try that.
You really could. I mean, if you get a really like Knives of Alaska does a.
That's your sheath right there.
Oh, cool! Check that out. Sheath proudly made in the U.S. too. All of this USA made, but with a chisel grind on one side. So
like convex almost.
Right.
It's not even flat here. It's more that.
And as long as this is bilateral, whereas if you divide it in the middle, it's the same on both sides. It can work for left hand or right hand.
Yeah.
And the sheath, left hand or right handed sheath too.
So this is a challenge
right.
for you.
I can EDC this one or design one.
If you find yourself inspired to create an EDC Ulu.
On your desk by Monday. No worries there.
I don't think you know the meaning of that phrase. It never pans out.
No, definitely.
But I think that would be a really cool concept. And
yeah.
I've never decided to do something with it, but I think like a Joe Flowers designed EDC Ulu would be just a very cool thing to see.
Yeah. First, I'll have to go to Alaska.
Take it under advisement.
And I'll go check out Alaska first and get some real input off of that.
Yeah.
And no, why not? I'll figure out a way somehow.
Where there's a will, there's a way. All right. Well, now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most serious question of the day.
Oh, God.
Kevin Stryker says, most serious question candidate. If you had to find a Joe Flowers proof knife, what would it be? And you can't pick one that you designed.
Ooh.
So normally our most serious question gets like a tongue-in-cheek funny answer. I actually have a serious answer to this. But
Really?
But what, humorously, if you will, what would be a Joe Flowers proof knife?
Like one in my past that like has survived all my bullcrap?
Or if it doesn't exist yet.
Oh,
What should it be?
I don't know.
What does a knife need to be Joe Flowers proof?
Right now, just LC200N, because I don't know if I trust MagnaCut yet. That's just me.
It's funny you mentioned that.
Okay.
Because in my books, there is kind of an EDC or a Joe Flowers proof folding knife that exists.
Oh, out of LC200N. Would that be the Caribbean?
You didn't know.
Awesome.
You didn't even know this was on the table.
No, I didn't. That's great. He knows me. See, he knows me, humans.
Tell our viewers the story of how how the Caribbean survived you.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. So I was in the Florida Keys jumping off of a bridge with the Spyderco Caribbean in a certain spot where like you can only get there by foot, right? And I had it what I thought was on a really secure system on a belt because I was doing a lot of diving, a lot of work, and of course, lo and behold, I still managed to lose it in the Florida Keys Canal in the salt water. And just was like, wasn't the first knife I lost, I had a bitter taste in my mouth, and I was like, well, at least it's you're not taking like one of your really nice customs you can't get anymore. And so lo and behold, I was down in the Florida Keys a few months later, and I go down there with the magnet in the same spot, and I was thinking, I'm just gonna try. Didn't get anything with the magnet at all. So I decided to do what everybody does and go diving for lobsters.
Everybody does that.
Well, it's a good area for it, down the Keys during a certain season, making sure it's a certain size and all that.
Yep.
And lo and behold, I'm snorkeling all around there, and it's sitting right there at the bottom of the canal on the side of this coral reef, just looking at me. And I made all these like crazy sounds like somebody drowning and got out of there and held it up in the light, and it still worked really, really, really well, perfectly, except it had some microorganisms that I thought was rust at the beginning, but wasn't after I scraped it off. Man, I sent Joyce, the marketing lady at Spyderco at the time, a whole video of me dancing and talking about it. Because you never find a knife.
You never find a knife you lose like that.
Yeah, in the water, in any water source. It could be like a creek, and you swear to gosh, you never find it again. And so
I remember you had said that it looked like there was just a little bit of tarnish on the blade.
Yeah.
But it
It's
cleaned
gone.
off?
Yeah, it did. With
those
not even a rust eraser or something, like a 3M pad just for a second. And it was, we looked at it under a microscope. It was really funky stuff. I don't know exactly what it was.
I mean, Spyderco bills their salt series, which this is part of, as being as corrosion proof as possible.
And the proof is in the pudding. 2 months later, month and a half, 2 months later, I found it. And I still use it. It's still very usable, but I will not travel with it on an airplane. I will bring it like to Blade Show and stuff and talk about it, but
so that
I don't want to lose it again.
It survived Joe Flowers' shenanigans.
It did. And very, very fortuitous to find it again too. But
yeah, I had this over. You didn't even see that
no.
over
But
there.
I was about to say, like LC200N, it'll still be there later. I had to think if it's Joe Flowers proof. There's some of this stuff that was really beat up. Like this guy took a lot of beating and would like grow into the sheath if I didn't have wicked wax on it. So stuff will disintegrate after time if you're just moving
You've got
around.
an LC200 knife in your pocket right
Yeah,
now.
I do. So as my baby, now I have the Coochie or the Siren. I can't remember.
Siren. Yeah,
Siren. Okay. The Coochie is another one that they make, I believe, in LC200M, but I like the Siren.
They don't make this version anymore.
They don't?
We still have some of the S90V versions in stock, however.
Whoa.
I'll leave a link below.
So they don't make this version, so now this is going to be one that I could, well.
So now you have to have another one that you can
No, this
not
one's
afraid
come
to
with
lose.
me. Yeah, that one I lost once. If I lose this one again, I'll live. It's okay.
I'll just get another one of these. I still make these.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Now I got two. Just go ahead and bill me for this one. Yeah.
There we go.
See.
Well,
Yeah.
that's all we got for today, folks. Joe,
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks
It's
for
been
hanging
great.
out,
Look,
man.
guys, we have all our fingers still. Yay! Give everything a like and a thumbs up while you still got them.
let me know what you thought of the answers in the comments below. If you have any more questions specifically for Joe Flowers, maybe we'll get him up here at some point in the future and do another episode of this. Possibly.
And guys, they have a really cool bushcraft area in the back there. So if you want to see him get really like cut up with thorns and all that stuff, make sure to ask later on.
Whoa,
it's really easy.
Let's not have them ask for me to get cut up.
Oh, no. Let's go just bring him out. You know, Seth got stung already once. So that was fun.
You and Seth both got stung back there.
Like a survival Seth survives. Series.
Survives.
There's a lot of S words in there too.
But for those of you who have been asking us to get back out in the woods, it's something we haven't done in a number of years on this channel. Thomas and I used to go back there and do some stuff. We're back there.
Yeah.
Doing some stuff.
Until he sets a forest fire with the ferocium.
That's going to be you doing that, not me.
No way.
Well, let me know what you thought of the questions down there in the comments. If you've got some alternate suggestions for any of them, please feel free to drop them there as well. And keep leaving your questions in the comments, including your most serious questions. They are the thing that keep this channel or this series going. And to get your hands on any of these knives, except for the siren that they don't make. But we'll leave a link to the other one we've got still. Check out the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because the least thing we can do when you buy one of our knives today is give you some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and that's Joe Flowers, our good buddy, signing off. See you next time.